Hey guys, so I talk a lot about what did we learn in school? How can we make it worth it? How can we make it useful? Because so much of what we learned, I would say 99% of what we learned is never used again. So today, I gotta celebrate something I learned in 8th grade that I somehow still remember. I used it today. So if you have a list of items, A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And let's give them an index. If you wanted to count however number of things were between whatever index, how would you do it? So let's say we wanted to count the number of letters from index 5 to index 3. You couldn't just do 5 minus 3, right? 5 minus 3 equals 2, but there's 3 items. So whenever you want to count both sides, you have to add 1. That's one of the things I learned back in 8th grade. So for example, if I wanted to count the number of items from 3 to 6, I would have to do 6 minus 3 plus 1, or else I'm not counting one of the ends. So I don't know what the concept mathematically is called, but I call it bounding both sides. That's probably not the right word, but that's what I'm going to call it. I've learned about you have to add 1 if you want to count both sides when you do subtraction. And today, it came into use. So let me show you. A lot of you know I'm studying taxes, and here is something that I think all of you should read up on just to be careful, right? If you accidentally file late, again, I'm just going to assume you're going to accidentally file late, you might be subject to penalties. Now, what is the penalty? If you don't file your return by the due date, including extensions, you may have to pay a failure to file penalty. The penalty is usually 5% for each month or part of a month that a return is late, but not more than 25%. The penalty is based on the tax not paid by the due date without regard to extension. The key phrase is part of a month. So why could this potentially confound people? Think about when taxes are due in America. In America, taxes are due usually in the middle of April. Now, you have to check your calendar every year because if April 15th falls on a weekend, it usually goes to the next Monday. So now let's do a quick example. Let's say you didn't do your taxes until August 2nd. This number looks crazy, and I do hope nobody ever owes this much, right? But let's say you owe this much. I'm going to explain to you later why I made the numbers so big. It relates to something else in the tax law. But let's say you owe this much. Let's think about what we just read. If you don't file your return by the due date, including extensions, you may have to pay a failure to file penalty. The penalty is usually 5% for each month or part of a month that a return is late, but not more than 25%. The penalty is based on the tax not paid by the due date without regard to extensions. Is the date from April 15th to April 30th, is that part of a month? Yes. Is August 1st and August 2nd part of the month? Yes. So are we counting April and are we counting August? Yes. What does this remind you of? Remember what I learned in 8th grade? We could obviously go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we can count manually. But if we wanted to be more quick about it, we could use that subtraction method where we include both sides of what we're subtracting. So 8 minus 4 plus 1, that's 5 months. Again, if we just did 8 minus 4, we'd be missing one of the months. The IRS clearly says part of a month counts, right? Counts for the month. This month is included. This month is included. 8 minus 4 plus 1. So that's 5%, right? 5 times 5, 25. So your penalty, besides what's due here, is 25% of this. So for those of you asking, why did I make the numbers that big? Because there's actually something else in the IRS, and you have to check 2024 numbers, okay? I'm basing it on 2023 publication 17, but if you file more than 60 days late, your minimum penalty is the lesser of $485 or 100% of the balance due. Now, this is probably going to change every year, so make sure to check your current tax year if you stumble on this video. But that's why I had to make this a very big, exorbitant number, because originally in my example, it was 400. If it's 400, 25% of 400, right? What was the minimum? So it didn't work, so I had to make this bigger. So I'm showing you the internal process of how I come up with an example. Now that you've watched this, will you remember what I was taught in 8th grade? When you're doing subtraction and you're trying to count both sides of whatever index you're trying to get, what do you do? Anytime you want to talk about education, how to improve our education system, let me know. Okay, guys, thank you.